Hi everybody, welcome to Siege 2018. Thanks for tuning in to Breaking Into the Industry, which you just watched here. And with me today I have Bobby.
Bobby Blackwolf, yes.
Bobby Blackwolf, cool. So we're going to be doing some more personal interviews just like this one. He's our first victim of the day and of the SIEGECon. So thank you for joining us. But be sure to tune in. We're going to have lots of other people in between the different sessions. So anyways, Bobby, tell us a little bit about you and your journey into gaming in general. So
right. Because I'm not a game developer,
right?
But I'm gaming adjacent. I've actually been a video game podcaster since 2005.
Okay.
So this was back when there were only 50 video game podcasts on the internet, and I've still survived. I'm not the longest running one, but I've been around for a long time. I've been out of the Atlanta area the entire time. So I've been a video game podcaster. My show is called The Bobby Blackwolf Show.
Okay.
I named it after myself, which is the worst thing to do. But Jay Leno can't steal my job.
Oh,
so
true.
It just worked out that way.
Well, be sure to tell our viewers where they can find you.
Yeah, so I also run the Voice of Geeks Network, so that's where we're at. So the Voice of Geeks Network, it's a podcast network and a live internet radio station. Right now we're on live internet radio.
Okay.
Shoutcast Radio, we're at VOGnetwork.com, VOGnetwork.com, but we announced at DragonCon last month that we are actually migrating all of our live content from internet radio to Twitch. So we're actually going to be doing our podcast live with video. It's still going to be an audio podcast, and we're not going to leave the audio people out, but we're moving over to Twitch by the end of the year.
Cool. So, all right. Your youth and your gaming,
Yes.
What influenced you in gaming? Like, what kind of games did you play all the way up? Give us a little bit about.
So I'm 29.
Spring chicken.
So my dad was he was an electrical engineer. So we grew up with computers around the house. I grew up on the Commodore 64 back in the early 80s. The Intellivision was my first console because my brother made the purchasing decisions, and those George Plimpton TV ads where he had the Atari 2600 here and the Intellivision here. He's like, once you compare, you'll know. My brother said we were having an Intellivision. So I didn't grow up on Atari, I grew up on Intellivision.
Okay.
But I actually wanted to be a game developer. And actually the angle I wanted was in music. Was actually, the original Sierra Online adventure games. Mark Siebert and Ken Allen and all of them that were doing the music there, that's what I wanted to be. I wanted to be a game music composer for Sierra games. Okay. Especially with like the Roland MT32 sound module that made everything sound amazing and stuff. And then as I got into college, I started getting more into the tracker scene, so I was in the PC demo scene. And I was doing tracker music, and I actually do have 2 game credits to my name of doing game soundtracks back in the 90s.
Plug it. Who was it?
Well, they were both freeware games. One was an Unreal partial conversion called Crescent Moon Squad. And then I also it was called Acid Tetris at the time, it was for MS-DOS. But they had to change the name because the Tetris company threatened to sue, so now it's called Super Acid Block Attack.
Okay.
And I contributed 1 song to that. But then I realized there was no money in it, and also that was the time Red Book Audio came around, and so it wasn't just about writing music, but it was also performing music, recording music, and all that. Whereas it was so much easier for me to just load up the tracker, write the notes, and have the computer play it for me.
So making music, you're not making millions right off the bat.
Right. And so when I was getting a computer science degree from the University of Georgia, so I basically went into the generic programming area, and so that's where I kind of am right now.
Okay.
But I was still really into the gaming industry and stuff, and so that's how I started. When podcasting started being a thing, they said any idiot with a mic can do a podcast. Well, I'm an idiot, and I have a mic, so I did a podcast, and here I am 13 years later.
Awesome. Okay, so here we are at Siege 2018. Yes. How did you hear about Siege, and have you been to Siege before?
So, I've actually been to every Siege.
Every Siege?
Every Siege, because Siege
How many is that?
I think it started in 2007, 2008, something like that. Somewhere around that.
Okay.
So it was after I started podcasting. So I kind of knew some of the people. I knew Andrew Greenberg from earlier. Andrew Greenberg did not hire me when I got out of college. I actually interviewed with him, and I did not get the job.
Oh.
Yeah. I could have worked on Multi-Coon.
All right, so you... I know, right? So you've been to all the Sieges?
Yes, I've been to all of them.
So tell us about Siege number 1 and the journey of the different Sieges, and how have you seen Siege grow?
So Siege number 1 was all about getting into the game industry, and this was back, I think it was before the tax credit, or right when the tax credit came into being. So there weren't that many game developers in the area.
Right.
There were a handful, and it was a lot of students who really wanted to make their games. And so Siege was filled with people wanting to make games, wanting to get into the industry and stuff geared at that. But there were no games here.
Yeah.
Nobody had a game. If a company was here, it was their HR department.
Right.
So this was back when CCP was here. It was their HR department. They were soliciting resumes. Hi-Res was soliciting resumes. There might be like one company that was like, maybe Hi-Res probably like had a game running on a laptop, but that was it.
Right.
It was all schools and all that. And as time went on, those people who were in those sessions learning how to make games, learning how to be in the industry, over time, they started showing up to Siege with their games.
Cool.
And now you come here and you see all those people showing off their games. There's a lot of games to play here, which there weren't in the beginning, and it's just shown the growth of this area, of here in Georgia, and showing that, yes, people who started back then who didn't know if they could do it, they actually can do it, and they're here showing off their stuff.
That's true, and that right around this door right here, that's a huge ballroom, just slap full of local developers and all of their games. It's really, really cool. So, if you've never been to Siege, you should definitely come check it out, especially now that it's grown up.
Yeah.
11 years.
Yeah.
This is its 11th year. I suddenly remembered. So 2007.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. Where else could we go into? Podcasting. So, are you podcasting gameplay or like?
No. So I do. It's styled like an AM radio talk show.
Okay.
So every week it's Sunday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific for about an hour. And it's me by myself, so that's already daunting. But it's basically I choose a couple topics about like the industry or what I'm into, because I really got into virtual reality. I had the first dev kit of the Oculus Rift. So I'll talk about something going on, or like recently the Telltale layoffs. Or sometimes if there's a game that I do really want to talk about, like Forza Horizon 4 right now,
right?
I'll actually talk about it. We've talked a lot about like the Switch Online and like the licensing that's going to happen for the multiplayer games now that they've gone to 6.0, stuff like that. And then the second half, I actually open it up for callers. So I actually have people can call in with Skype, or I even still have a toll-free number, which nobody uses anymore, so it may go away. But I still have a toll-free number that people can call in just like a radio. And so I get other people's voices in the chat room. I have a live chat room. I'm reading the chat room, so they're like my co-host.
Right.
And they correct me. They argue with me. It's great. And then I lead into actually what winds up being, we're pretty positive, they are the longest running video game podcast on the internet. It's called Orange Lounge Radio. They're based out in Sacramento, California. They've been around since 2002.
Oh, wow.
And they actually work with the Sacramento independent game developers. So I'm out here in Atlanta. My business partner Rob's out in Sacramento, and we both kind of do things like Siege, but he does it with the Sacramento version of the GGDA.
Gotcha.
And so we really have kind of latched onto the indies, because I used to cover E3. I went to E3 from like 1997 until about 3 years ago.
Okay.
And so I've talked to the big guys. They don't talk to us anymore. And the people that talk to us are the people that are in this ballroom.
That's true.
They're the ones who talk to us. So now we kind of concentrate on talking to them. And so I'll do interviews with games as they're coming out.
Right.
I don't cover early Kickstarters, because I like to cover games that are coming out.
Right.
Because also, if I covered every Kickstarter that came to me, I'd never be able to talk to anything about anything else.
True that. Well, then you definitely need to talk to Andrew about Noble Armada.
Yes, which I've streamed Noble Armada. I've actually, I've talked to Andrew about it in the past too. So once it's coming out, or I think it's coming, because I did play a recent build and died. God, that game was merciless on me when I played it on stream a couple months ago.
All right, so maybe let's dig up a little fun topic. Let's dig up some laundry, either dirty or clean. It's your choice.
Okay.
So how about some of your favorite past podcasts? Maybe can you highlight some of the events that happened? And next, I'm going to ask you your worst. So
they all run together, because I just did this past Sunday night was episode 630.
Wow. Okay.
And I do them one a week.
Right.
So that's how long I've been doing it. So, but it's really the people I meet.
Okay.
And it's I've been able to interview some wonderful people. Like one of my favorite interviews was Tommy Tallarico, who was he's now the president of Intellivision Entertainment. But he's a big, prolific video game composer. This was about video games live when it was really starting out.
Right.
I've had the Brothers Chaps on before, back when Homestar Runner was still actually a thing before they came back.
Right.
And I had them, and I actually broke the news that the Atari 2600 RPG had been canceled. I am still listed on Wikipedia as the source for that information because that got broke. But I've interviewed Christopher Tin, who's the first Grammy winner for a video game song for Baba Yetu from Civilization 4.
Okay.
So I got to interview him, and I've gotten to meet a lot of people at E3. The worst stuff.
Yeah, come on, let's dig up some of those nightmares. There's got to be some of those bad
Well, you got to realize, I read comments from the chat room.
Yep.
And they're gamers. Mm-hmm. I try to only read the intelligent ones. Some of them make it hard.
Of course.
But thankfully, earlier on, it was worse. I did get raided by 4chan one time, asking me if Battletoads was around. That whole meme. But it doesn't happen all that much anymore.
Okay.
So it's really like some of the early stuff. I've kind of had some rough stuff, but not really any bad things that have happened.
Okay. All right. Okay. Would you have any perhaps MacGyver tips for anybody looking to do what you're doing for getting into podcasting? Any suggestions, equipment, or even how to get started? Attend Siege. That might help.
Yeah. Well, that'll help. So there's. Basically, we just say just start. Just do it. You don't necessarily need the best equipment, although you probably do want to have the audio file sounding good. Mm-hmm. But try to figure out what your passion is. You want to podcast your passion. If you're just doing a podcast just a podcast, nobody's going to listen.
Okay.
And make it something you would want to listen to. If you don't want to listen to it, and I know everybody's like, I don't want to hear my own voice, well, you're going to have to get over that. But the content has to be something you want to listen to, and get some friends to help you.
Right.
Get some people in there with you that are also as passionate about it. But really, just start. And now, especially if you want to get into streaming, it's easier than ever. I remember doing video streams. I actually did a video stream of one of my other old shows from Siege in 2009 or 2010, and it was like a hodgepodge of a camera, of a FireWire camera, and a little webcam over here, and I had a big computer and 2 monitors, and I was trying to do it from the lobby of one of the other hotels that Siege was at the time. Right. It wasn't always at this hotel, and it didn't go so well.
Oh.
But I mean, it was so difficult to do it because nobody was doing it. So I was having all these cables. Now with even just OBS or Streamlabs OBS, if that was around when I was doing this initially in 2009, which that's also a funny story about that project. I would have been so much better.
Okay.
At it.
So what do you think your focus is here for this Siege? Any particular panels or anything you're wanting to attend?
No, unfortunately, I'm only here tonight. I was here last night for the meetup, so I got to meet some of the people in here. But really,
sometimes Thursday is the new Friday at Siege, right?
Yeah, it's kind of like Dragon Con.
Right, exactly.
Because I got there Wednesday for Dragon Con.
Right.
So I'm basically going to be trying to get some video footage and some video interviews for our upcoming move to Twitch for the podcast, because I usually will air 5 to 10 minute interviews with game developers when I come to these things. So that's basically what I'm here. I'm here to meet some of the people in the local industry, some of the local indie game devs. Maybe if they're not ready to be showing their stuff yet, maybe get their card, have them come on a later date, because I'm broadcasting every Sunday night, and I kind of would love to have more people talk to me outside of just the first weekend of October.
Well, hey, you've met me.
That's right.
And we stream every Tuesday with the GGDA.
Yeah.
Different content. We try to focus first looks and personal interviews and stuff like that in new games. But anyways, so coming up soon, we are going to be having. What we're going to show next is a throwback to Siege from last year. And that is going to be a video of Gerst Pazer of Mixer and his keynote speaking from last year. Did you get to attend last year? Or you said you've been here every single year. So.
I've been here, but I've always been I usually don't get here early enough on Friday because I'm coming back Saturday, so I don't get here until the keynote's wrapping up usually on Friday, because I still have to work my day job.
Right.
But I cut out early. I hope my boss isn't watching.
Maybe
my CEO follows me on Twitter, and it's
so directly after that, after we're going to do this keynote, a throwback from last year, and then after that we're going to have another panel live streaming, and I'm trying to read the card. What you need to know
about quality assurance in video games.
Now, I've actually talked to some of these guys already. It's QA is one of the more important topics in game development, so be sure to tune in for that. Otherwise, get ready to have a lot of fun. We're also going to be around here tomorrow. We've got tons of content coming up, and looking forward to it. So we're ready to have fun, have a good Siege, and we'll be with you back. We'll be back soon. This is the wonderful thing about live streaming. You know, sometimes you stutter, sometimes you don't, and sometimes the camera just keeps rolling, and we'll just talk, you know, about something.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of live entertainment.
Especially when the red light's on.
I know, right? The red light is on. Okay, so thank you very much.